Official Strongman Games, Event 5, car walk. So, athlete will carry a car 50 foot, 15 metres down the course, fastest time possible within a 60-second time limit. Athletes will compete head-to-head. Time and total distance completed is your score. Time stops when both of the car's front tyres cross the line. Athlete begins inside the car. Unlimited drops allowed. No grip shirts allowed. So let's. What do you think about car walk and car walk training? Yoke, 15 meters, pretty heavy.
It's heavy. It's short. I mean, this is the same weight when we did it. I didn't have a great event. I warmed up too early, but I know we're saying it's heavy, but there's still some guys that can move pretty quick with these weights. And that's only 15 meters. So acceleration is going to be key. What I understand about the car walk and the difference in the mechanics to a yoke, if you have access to a car walk, it would be good to go train on it. If you're in the UK, one of my clients is actually making one right now. Tommy Chivers, the under 80 Brits champ. But from what I understand, you get a bit of this with it. It can be up or down. It won't move the same way as a yoke, ever so slightly different. But the main thing is it's a short course. We need to get to top speed. We need to get it quick. Drops are going to cost you on a 15-meter course. It's head-to-head. So yeah, you're racing the other guy, but or girl, but don't focus on them. You want to make sure you're running your race, because you can focus on them. You can speed up a little bit too much, maybe lose control. Yeah. What about you? What are your thoughts on the car walk compared to the yoke?
So, I'm a massive fan of specificity. I think it's really, really important and underlooked in a lot of things. But I think in this case, I don't think it's significantly different to yoke, to be honest. Like I think it maybe feels ever so slightly heavier, judging off like not in the moment. I did this last year at the comp last year, and based on the times, like it was more like I think ours was 3:20 last year, and to me, based on data, it felt more like it felt like an easy 3:40, if that makes any sense. Like, because it felt easy in terms of stability, but it just felt maybe a little bit, well, it didn't feel heavier or harder, but the time that I got reflected would marry up to the kind of so yeah, that's what I find. I found that actually I think these particular cars, they feel really, really stable, and they feel really good to compared to an average yoke. Yeah. So I just think if you're training yoke consistently, yoke frequently, then you're going to do great. A little thing in terms of same with all strongman events. I always recommend, like, if you can't get to the specific implement, I would definitely recommend rotating implements. So like if you have like say I've got a lightweight yoke at the gym, I've got a heavyweight yoke, I've got a narrower one, I've got a thicker whatever, I've got one with a thicker crossbar, like you're gonna benefit from like say rotating the different implements. If you can't replicate the exact implement that you're going to be using, then actually just, I suppose it's getting away from getting too comfortable with one kind of thing. Like, be versatile, that's what I'm saying. So a thing that you might notice on this one, like say if you're used to a yoke with loads of different like say you know when you're changing the height and it's got loads of like small gaps, and you can be really, really picky with the kind of the yoke height. I remember this one measuring up for it, and the gap was a little bit more significant than say my yoke, and I remember like being torn in my head. Do I go that, like torn between which one to go for, like to go for is this going to feel really, really heavy when the weight's up, and do I keep it low? and do I keep it skimming the ground, or am I going to back myself? I'm going to be able to open up my stride a little bit, but the pickup's going to feel heavier if I go higher. I think ideally I would have gone somewhere in between the two measurements, if you will, on the one last year. So I would say, if you've got like a perfect setup on your yoke that you train on, get comfortable doing one notch lower and one notch higher as well, and like just know how your technique will change. Like if it's ever so slightly too high and the yoke's almost skimming the ground, like, which I would recommend if you get to the yoke and you think, shit, this is really, really heavy for me, like I'd recommend going with that. Like neurally, it feels like the pickup feels a lot easier if it's higher, but obviously you're not going to be able to go as fast, which for a lot of people at this weight, it's not really going to matter anyway. Like a snail's pace getting to the other side might get significant points, whereas if you go lower, you get loads of clearance and you think, oh, I'm going to be able to stride out here, but you're making that pickup feel really, really difficult. Like sometimes you pick up, anyway. What else do you think, Tom?
I think you've covered the main things. I'm a big believer in, working that pickup. We do squats, but we don't always overload the quarter range, and getting under a yoke is a perfect opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest things, again, it depends on your strength. Sometimes it's ankle mobility, but I'm not a fan of people with a wide stance to pick up and then they waddle in and then they get going. If you can, I believe a split stance is going to be the best.
You can definitely. Like, sorry to interrupt. Like, this isn't a question. Like, this is a statement. You can, and in my opinion, we should. And I think in 10 years' time, like, everybody is going to be doing staggered stance yoke. Like, you've talked about it on Farmer's Frame yoke for a while. Like, I'm the kind of person that if I see something, it's logical, it makes sense. Like, I'll just go and do it, and I'll just go and repeat it. And one of the things that I had on yoke would put people like, oh yeah, well it's all right doing staggered stance when it's light, but when it's heavy, like, are you going to be able to do it? And then I was like, and then I learned how to do it with like 260, 280, 300, 320, 360. I've done I think I've done 405 for 10 meters with a staggered stance start. I think that's the best that I've done, and just kind of proven that. And actually at the point now where if I tried like a bilateral pickup, I would find it harder.
Yeah.
I actually believe that all skill being equal on a staggered stance versus a bilateral pickup, I actually believe that the staggered stance you'll be able to lift more. And I think a big thing about that, which people don't realize until you point it out to them, like the pickup's actually lower. The range of motion is significantly lower.
Yeah. No, I think we've covered most things. Do you want to look at programming, or are we going to be?
Let's touch on programming for the yoke. So I think the great thing about this, if you're training specifically for OSG, is you've got all the data from last year. Like, you've got all the data from all the classes. So work backwards from that. Like, a typical thing that we see in strongman program, and I think that where I like to start with programming is you kind of, if you're hitting 2 meters per second for 15 meters, 20 meters, 40 meters, like, and you're getting up towards your comp weight, you're probably going to get top points. If you're hitting 2.5 meters per second, like hitting 8 seconds for a 20 meter run, like, you're going to get top points, aren't you, at a comp? What I would say about this is you don't need to be as fast. If you study the times, I think in the 80s it was Richard Panganiban and me top two. And I think we did I think it was about 9.7 or 9.8. Yeah. So that's where it kind of relate, like, it actually led me to think it's more like a 340 or 350 yoke for me. Like, because for a 320 yoke, I'd be aiming for 2 meters per second. So I'd be aiming for 7 or 8, 7.5 or something. where it was like significantly slower than that, but it felt amazing, and it still got top points. So I think there was one guy in maybe the Open, I've forgotten his name, so I apologise. But I think there was one guy that went faster over the whole show on the yoke than me and Rich. So maybe I don't know, 9 seconds or something. So there's nobody going like 7.5 for 15. So if you actually look at the speed that you're looking at, I think it came out as 1.67 meters per second, like how fast I was going. So if you're shooting at 1.7 and like as your speed, if you want, assuming that you won't get top points, like you're doing like 1.7 as your speed, or you're doing 15-meter runs, say hitting 9 seconds. Like if you're going 8.5 seconds, 8 seconds, great. But I think you're going to have more value in terms of getting stronger within the like getting stronger below that threshold of like say 8.5 to 9 seconds, seeing if you can get towards your comp weight at that. And then if you can get to your comp weight at that, then great, then go faster. But yeah, that's my kind of go up programming where you can, like on any of these events, like look what's gone before. What's your saying, Tom? Success leaves clues. Yeah,
I wish it was mine, but yeah, I do say it a lot.
Well, I don't know. I don't read anybody. I don't read. But yeah, just look. That's how I started years ago when I got into strongman. I just looked at, right, long term, where do I want to be? Right, what are the best guys in the world doing? And I remember watching the Arnold's yoke, and I think it was Farmers, and I was like, right, what are the top 3 doing in terms of speed? And then I've just trained at that speed for like 5 years or 6 years or whatever, and like aim to get stronger within that. And obviously, like you do other stuff and that, but yeah, but I think there's plenty of data there. If you look at the old results, that you can, rather than just go, you see a lot of people will just go, oh well, I'll just go for it on the day, I'll just go hell for leather. But you can get so much benefit in like the programming little things that we've said, like say the rest pause stuff earlier and stuff. Like you can make that really specific, like all these beautiful training systems you can make specific to your context, can't you? If you anyway, I'm rambling, but yeah, should we move on?
I think you've made great points, and I think one of the best points you've made is you're focusing on a speed, which means you have to time it. The amount of time I get things back where the client hasn't timed the event. You need to know what time. There's, your PBs on yoke or any moving event is weight and speed. It's not just weight. We can all bimble with whatever weight, but you want to attach a time to that, and that is your personal best, and that's what you work towards. I also think the point you made about having a specific time is good. Don't forget, this is day 3. You're not necessarily, is it the first event of the day? Like it's the first event of the day, but you've already done 2 days with maximal effort work. So yeah, maybe the times weren't as quick as you might have thought, because after however many events, 4 events, you are going to be a little bit fatigued.
Yeah. So like everything in training, if you can quantify it, make it objective, why do it? Like when I see people describing moving events, they upload to their social media or whatever, and they were like, "Oh, done X amount of weight, felt fast." Like that's just ridiculous. Like what felt fast is meaningless. Like Tom says, like attach a time to it, attach a measure, because very often you will do stuff that feels amazing. You time it, and you're like, oh, it's 20 meters in 12 seconds. I thought it felt like 10 seconds. It felt like I was flying. And then very, very often, if you're doing repeats, you'll actually put it right, and you'll be like, oh, next set, 10.5 seconds. It just felt the same, but it was faster. Yeah. And very often it'll be you'll do it the other way around, where stuff will like say feel rubbish, and you'll be like, oh no, I'm having a crap day today. And then you do your times, and you're like, oh, I've done 9.5 seconds. It didn't feel that good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like take the emotion out of your training where you can, and just be objective, and like goes you can't do it. Like, it's more challenging to do with certain exercise than it is others. But getting a stopwatch and measuring your astro, getting markers out, it's just priceless, and will take your training to the next level, 100%.